over 45 million, which is 67.64% of PVCs distributed. We also did check and found out that in that 1 week, having looked at the total sum, look at the Southwest, for instance, now. Even before we even go ahead and take you to the total sum, in the Southwest, as at the 27th of January, which was the first time out those documents were released, 6,403,530. So after all of those, the figures then jumped up and they had an improved figure. But now, this is the total number of registered voters, which is over 68 million. But then, there you also see the total number of registered voters, which the commission did put in there. But the total number of permanent voter cards that the commission was able to distribute in this 1 week window, 3,326,357 in 1 week. So there are many who have said, well, okay, if they were able to distribute that one, they do the math and see how much more could they have done. Excuse me, but in the meantime, the total number of uncollected permanent voter cards as it stands now is about, you have 23,003,668 permanent voter cards have not been distributed. But then we also have some new information to bring to you about the collection of the permanent voter cards. Now remember, after the commission did announce that rescheduling of the elections with so much reactions, and still getting the reactions. There's a press statement from the commission here, which they say the collection of the cards, the PVCs, will continue for 4 more weeks until March the 8th of this year. So there you go. That's some information about the permanent voter cards. We'll be back in just a moment and continue on this, so join us again. Welcome back to Nigeria 2015. We're coming to you live from our studios in Lagos. It's time now for the headline news with Ayotunde Balogun.
Thank you very much, Chimilin. These are the headlines. Well, the presidential flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress, that's the APC, General Muhammadu Buhari, has notified the Federal High Court in Abuja of his plans to file preliminary objection to the suit challenging his eligibility to contest the elections. Now, General Buhari, through his counsel, Wale Olanipekun, is also challenging the order of substituted service on his client by the court on the grounds that the election has been postponed and there is no urgency to warrant a substituted service. This development came up in court when the case was called for mention. Now, having listened to both parties, Justice Adeni Ademola adjourned to the 23rd of this month for all parties to file the necessary processes in court with regards to the suit. Now, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Chief John Oyegun, has accused the military of allegedly entering into a pact with the presidency to rig the 2015 general elections. Chief Oyegun told journalists today at the national headquarters of the APC in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city, that the ruling party has seen the handwriting on the wall, and that is why they decided to postpone the elections. He said the APC is raising this alarm based on available information to the party. And in a swift reaction, the Nigerian military has condemned what it calls an attempt by the APC to drag the armed forces into politics. The Director of Defense Information, Major General Chris Olukolade, says there is no plot by the Nigerian military to engage or encourage any rigging of the forthcoming elections. According to him, quote, "To the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware of any plot involving the military and the presidency. Our mandate is clear, which is to defend the Constitution and the corporate entity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and anything other than this does not fall within our core mandate," end of quote. And on the foreign scene, Boko Haram militants are said to have carried out an attack on a prison in neighboring Niger Republic. Witnesses say they heard gunfire as the Niger army tried to repel the attack, said to be a third on the border town of Difa in 4 days. Well, there have been casualties, though there is no specific number on the death toll. However, a member of the National Guard said 100 suspected Boko Haram militants were held in Nigeria, but none of them, or Niger rather, but none of them in Difa. Those are the news headlines. It's still Nigeria 2015. Chamberlain, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Ayo. Well, let's get back to this, focusing today on the rescheduled elections with all the commentary making the rounds and they're still coming on. Well, we're joined now by Dr. Biola Akiyode Afolabi, who is the Executive Director, Women Advocate Research and Documentation Center. Thank you for coming on this evening.
You're welcome.
We're talking about this shift in the elections. Well, there were those who, I mean, the debate had always been there before they eventually announced that date. Were you surprised when it was announced?
Well, I wasn't surprised because there has been speculations, right, around the elections. There are discussions about possibility for them to shift the election, but I was surprised because some few days before then, we got some very good assurances from the INEC chair saying that they're ready to go. So I thought that with that kind of assurance, we should be able to go to the polls come February 14th. But just within 3-4 days, we started seeing some signs, and eventually we got a shocker during the weekend that the election will not hold.
Which of the signs that you saw before that announcement swung it for you, saying, no, it really now does look as if it will be postponed?
I think on the 25th of January, when Colonel Dasuki Sambo was at the Chatham House and made a declaration that INEC was not ready, which was quite contradictory to what we have here. Jega kept saying, we're ready to go, we're good to go. And we got that information from the other end saying they're not ready. And that led to other things. Some few days, like last week, there was a meeting of the Council of State, and they said, well, Jega came there and he was still saying, INEC is ready to go. Then all of a sudden, there was a discussion that they have to consult stakeholders to make that decision. And at the end of the day, Jega came around to also say that the election will not hold. As of Saturday, I was actually even going around in Ogun State to check to see whether people can still collect their permanent voters card. So thinking that the election will hold in 7 days to come. And that just came just as a big shock anyway. So
let's get to the collection of the permanent voter cards. I mean, I ran through some figures. As at 6th of February, INEC has been able to distribute 67.64% of the permanent voter cards. And those who are saying, look, we still have over 23 million to distribute. And that figure to a lot of people is significant. While some others think, well, this figure, I mean, will there ever be an end to people collecting the PVCs? But for those who thought that this was key in the sense that they didn't think INEC was ready if 23 million people have not collected the permanent voter cards.
Well, it's neither here nor there, because we saw people in Abuja still queuing up, and there were still complaints, even all over, to say that they have not been able to get their permanent voters card. So there was this fear about disenfranchising people who are interested in collecting their voters card. Some people got there, they said they don't have their names on the list. Some people got there, they didn't find INEC officials on ground to issue the voters card to them. So for me, it's also it's key, because we kept hearing that from everywhere, that there are people who are willing to pick up their permanent voters card but cannot get it. And we also kept hearing that INEC had gone to China to get more of the permanent voters card back to Nigeria. So which means there was a problem with the permanent voters card. And I think it's important for people to collect their voters card, especially when they are willing. While it is the duty of INEC to invite them to say, well, your permanent voters card is ready, but they can't force people to go and collect. So I don't expect that we'll get 100% collection, you know, but we have about 25% who have not been able to collect, but there are issues with INEC itself, and that's where I'm not comfortable. If there are things that INEC need to do to ensure, because people get there, they don't even find their permanent voters card. So that's not good, that's not right, because those people are interested in, so there's an issue with the permanent voters card, but it's not such a big issue. If you look at, even in 2011 elections, people didn't collect their temporary cards. In other elections, so they didn't, you know. So it's not really a big issue, because INEC was ready to keep issuing the permanent voters card up until the eve of the elections.
Yeah, but they hadn't announced that. They said, Well, the deadline they gave us
was
on
February
Sunday,
8th.
even though they said, look, when push comes to shove, we will have to extend it till that day. But that announcement didn't come.
Yes, but that willingness is there. Because by that February 8th, and that was the day I said, I went to Augustine, I was looking around, I went to St. Augustine, I didn't see anybody. They said we should go to INEC office. I went there, there was nobody. And I met a lot of people also hanging around INEC office. Then we saw this adverts in front of INEC office that they were going for training of ad hoc staffs and all that. And people said maybe that was the reason why they were not there. So for me, that was also an issue for INEC in terms of issues of permanent voters card.
Because I heard people also say, since we could not exactly